Hey guys, Dr. Dan coming at you. This is the stretch series video for lateral elbow pain. If you're having pain with gripping, turning, twisting objects, or just using that elbow if you're playing different sports, this is going to help you out. This is the stretch series video associated with this kind of body part pain. So if we have some pain on the outside, maybe it's because our shoulder is getting into a position where it shouldn't be, or I'm lacking different ranges of motion with getting my arm further overhead or behind my back. And so here's a couple of different drills that we're going to use to stretch out the areas above this elbow as well as some of the muscles that lay across the joint. Our first one we're going to do is a pec stretch. Even though it's simple, it's sometimes easy to mess up. You're going to take your hand in this L position, but it's almost like a V position. I'm going to stack that part of my forearm against, let's say, a squat rack. Maybe this is against a doorpost or door jamb. I'm going to make sure my chest is maybe 45 degrees away, and then I'm going to take my head and my shoulders and start opening up away from the door. I can then close down and then open that joint up to get a nice stretch right across the pec fibers. If I feel it across the joint, I'm stretching the joint capsule too much and not the pec major or the pec minor fibers. That stretch should be felt in the meat of the area instead of across the shoulder itself. The next stretch that we're going to use is to find something you can hang on to. This might be a bar in the rack. This might be hanging onto a table or a chair that you have at home. We're going to stretch out some of the lats that are the muscles that help create stable shoulders. But sometimes when our shoulders get rounded, because that muscle pulls on the front side, it attaches to the back. If this muscle gets too stiff, it's going to pull our shoulder forward. So I'm going to take a grip that's underhand, make sure my palm and my elbow is facing the ceiling or facing up. From this position, I'm going to reach my head through that window down toward the ground, feel a stretch through the back side of my body in the under armpit here, and come back up, making sure my palm and my elbow is staying open. As I come down and open, I want to hit different sides of that connective tissue or that fascia so I can split my feet. Same thing, make sure I feel this muscle here, coming up, and then leaning my head through the window. That's going to be for hitting some of the lat muscles. Now let's talk about the elbow specifically. There's a couple things that get tight on the top and the bottom side. We're looking at the elbow extensors. For stretching these out, we can go in a short elbow position, flexing the wrist, holding the wrist in as much of flexion as we can get. Sometimes it might be here, sometimes it might be greater, but I want to flex that wrist, bend the elbow, and then extend out. I could do a little bit of elbow flossing here, where I'm just keeping that flex position and extending from this area. I should feel a nice stretch through probably the same muscle that I get irritation with as I extend. So I'm going to flex down, open up, flex, and extend. Nice, easy way to stretch that tissue if I'm not getting a stretch in it. If I'm doing a lot of things like pulling movements, those extensors really get a lot of use as I'm trying to pull maybe a bar up, or if I'm doing, let's say, a pull up and I'm getting an overuse at this area. If I'm getting an overuse at the flexor area, I'm going to have to do the same thing. So I might bend the elbow, palm is up, and then I'm going to floss my elbow out, extend, bring it back in. Extend my wrist, make sure I have all my fingers, extend out, bring it back in. Maybe I'll repeat the process here 10 to 15 times, but making this more of a dynamic stretch instead of just a static stretch. So there you have it. There's 4 different stretches that we have in our stretch series for making sure that you're looking at areas above the elbow and not just the side of the pain. So we've got your flexor muscles, your extensor muscles. You then have your pecs, and then we're going for some of the lats working back in the shoulder.